You know, I ran into my old neighbor, Frank, at the grocery store last week. He's been retired about 5 years now, and as we were catching up, he said something that really stuck with me. I thought I had it all figured out, but now I'm not so sure. What if I outlive my savings? That worry, that nagging fear of running out of money when you're too old to go back to work, it's something so many of us carry. Retirement should be about freedom, not fear. But here's the good news. It's never too late to take control and make sure your golden years are truly golden. So today, let's talk about how much you really need to retire as a senior. Not some pie-in-the-sky number from a financial magazine, but real practical advice tailored to your life. Because here's the truth. What works for a 40-year-old planning for retirement isn't the same as what works for someone who's already in their 60s, 70s, or beyond. You've got different needs, different risks, and honestly, less time to bounce back if things go sideways. Now, before we dive into numbers, let's start with something even more important, your vision. What does your ideal retirement look like? Close your eyes for a second. What do you see? Maybe it's mornings spent sipping coffee on the porch, afternoons volunteering at the community center, or finally taking that cross-country road trip you've always dreamed of. Or maybe it's as simple as knowing your grandkids will never have to worry about you. That vision, that's your compass. Because retirement isn't just about surviving, it's about thriving. And to do that, we need to plan for two things, the necessities and the niceties. First, the necessities. The bills that'll keep coming no matter what. Housing, whether you own your home outright, still have a mortgage, or rent, utilities, groceries, healthcare, and transportation. These are your non-negotiables. And let's be honest, some of these costs sneak up on us. Take healthcare, for example. Even with Medicare, things like dental work, hearing aids, or long-term care aren't always fully covered. Then there are the niceties, the things that make life worth living. Maybe it's eating out once a week, helping your grandkids with college, or finally joining that book club that meets at the local cafe. These aren't frivolous. They're what make retirement your retirement. Now, here's where most people get tripped up. They focus only on the big number. Do I have $1 million saved? Without asking the real question, how long does this need to last? A 65-year-old today has about a 50% chance of living to 85, and a 1 in 4 chance of hitting 85-92. That's a long time to make your money stretch. So, how do you make sure you don't outlive your savings? Let's talk about the 4% rule, a simple starting point many financial planners use. The idea is that if you withdraw 4% of your savings in your first year of retirement, then adjust that amount for inflation each year after your money should last about 30 years. For example, if you have $500,000 saved, that's $500,000 saved. That's $20,000 in year one. But, and this is a big but, the 4% rule isn't one size fits all. If you retire later, have a pension, or are willing to adjust your spending in lean years, you might be able to take out more. On the flip side, if the market tanks early in your retirement, you might need to tighten your belt for a bit. And that brings us to the biggest mistake I see seniors make, thinking of their savings as one big pot. In reality, your money should be working in layers. Some for short-term needs, some for growth, and some for emergencies. We'll dive deeper into that in a bit. But for now, just remember, retirement planning isn't about picking one magic number. It's about building a system that adapts with you. Before we go further, I'd love to hear from you. Have you thought about what your ideal retirement costs? Or maybe you've already retired. What's one money lesson you've learned the hard way? Drop a comment below. Your experience could help someone else watching. And if you're finding this helpful, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. It helps more folks like you find this channel, and it lets me know what topics you'd like me to cover next. Now, let's get into the nitty-gritty, because next we're going to talk about where your retirement income will actually come from. Social Security, pensions, savings, maybe even part-time work. Each one plays a role, and understanding how they fit together is the key to sleeping soundly at night. You know, when I was helping my sister plan her retirement last year, she said something that really hit home. I've got Social Security, a little savings, and my pension, but how do I make all these pieces work together? And that's exactly what we're going to tackle today. How to take all those income sources and turn them into a paycheck that lasts. Because here's the thing, retirement income isn't just about how much you have, it's about how you use it. Let's start with the foundation for most of us, Social Security. Now, I know what you're thinking. Can I really live on just that? For many folks, the answer is no. But when you combine it smartly with other income, it becomes incredibly powerful. The biggest question I get is, when should I claim? If you take it at 62, you'll get smaller checks for life. Wait until 70, and those checks could be 30% bigger. There's no one right answer. It depends on your health, your spouse's needs, and whether you're still working. But here's what most people don't realize. Delaying isn't just about bigger checks. It's about creating a safety net for later years when healthcare costs tend to rise. Now, if you're lucky enough to have a pension, that's like gold in retirement. But you've got an important choice to make. Take the bigger monthly amount that stops when you die, or the smaller amount that keeps paying your spouse. This is where so many couples make emotional rather than financial decisions. I always advise, sit down with your partner and ask, if one of us goes early, will the other be okay? Next comes your savings and investments. This is where the layers I mentioned earlier come into play. Think of your money in 3 buckets. 1, the now bucket. 1 to 3 years of living expenses in cash or short-term CDs. 2, the soon bucket. Money you'll need in 3 to 10 years in safer investments. 3, the later bucket. Money for 10 plus years out that can still grow. This system does 2 crucial things. It protects you from having to sell investments when the market's down, and it gives your long-term money time to recover from bad years. And here's something many seniors overlook: part-time work. I'm not talking about going back to the grind, but about finding something enjoyable that brings in extra cash. My friend Ed retired from teaching and now leads history tours at the local museum. $1,000 a month doing something he loves. That's $1,000 he doesn't have to take from savings. But what about when unexpected expenses hit? That's where your emergency fund comes in. Even in retirement, you should keep 6 to 12 months of expenses set aside, because when the roof leaks or the car breaks down, you don't want to be dipping into investments at the wrong time. Now, let's talk about the elephant in the room: healthcare costs. Medicare covers a lot, but not everything. The average couple spends about $300,000 on healthcare in retirement. That's why I always recommend looking into a Medicare supplement plan, Medigap, and considering long-term care insurance in your late 50s or early 60s before premiums get too high. One last piece of the puzzle: taxes. Yes, you'll still pay them in retirement. Social Security may be taxable. Withdrawals from traditional IRAs definitely are. And even pension income often gets taxed. That's why it's smart to have some money in Roth accounts where withdrawals are tax-free. All this planning leads to one big question: am I going to be okay? Here's how to know for sure. First, track your spending for a few months. Not what you think you spend, what you actually spend. You'll probably find some surprises. I know I did when I realized how much I was spending on grandkids' birthdays. Next, add up all your income sources: Social Security, pension, any part-time work, rental income, etc. Then subtract your essential expenses. The gap is what your savings need to cover. Here's a simple formula. Take your annual gap and multiply by 25. That's roughly how much you'd need saved to withdraw 4% yearly. For example, if you need $20,000 a year beyond Social Security, aim for $500,000 in savings. But remember, these are guidelines, not rules. If you have a paid-off home, you might need less. If you want to travel the world, you'll need more. The key is to be honest with yourself about your lifestyle. Now, what if the numbers aren't adding up? Don't panic. You've got options. Downsize your home to reduce expenses. Consider a reverse mortgage if you're house rich, but cash poor. Move to a more tax-friendly state. Delay Social Security to increase your benefit. The most important thing, start where you are. Even small changes, cutting one unnecessary subscription, meal planning to reduce grocery bills, can add up to thousands saved each year. As we wrap up, I want to leave you with this thought. Retirement isn't a math test. It's about creating a life where you feel secure, fulfilled, and free to enjoy your hard-earned years. You've weathered storms before. You've got this. Now, I'd love to hear from you. What's your biggest retirement question? Or what's one tip you've learned about managing money in retirement? Share in the comments. Your wisdom might help another viewer. If this video helped you, please hit that like button. It means more people will see it. And subscribe for more straight talk about retirement living. Remember, it's not about having a fortune, it's about having enough. Here's to your retirement being everything you've dreamed it would be.